feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer.
I don't care what you think about what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college rule.
Welcome, one and all, to the Sports Experience Podcast. I'm Chris. This is Dom. We're a couple of comics here in Tucson, and I don't know if you can tell, but it's going to be a sweaty episode. Just a quick shout-out. We do all our recording here at Engle Studio. If you need any recording while you're in Tucson, give all of our YouTube, Instagram, all of that kind of a like and a share and a comment and all of that. We're trying to grow these numbers. Other than that, who are we talking about today?
We're back doing some soccer, Chris. Are you ready to open wide for it?
I'm ready to open wide. Give it to me.
Today we've got Zlatan Ibrahimović,
who you had said right off the bat, you were like, I don't know, I got some vibes from this guy.
I got some douche chills from this gentleman.
It's
but
true.
Man, what a story this guy is.
What a striker, but man, was he a problem child.
Born October 3rd, 1981 in Malmo, Sweden. Just done with our Peter Forsberg episode.
I know, that's what made me think of him when you were like, we should do Forsberg, and then we need a soccer one. I was like, we should do Ibrahimović.
There you go.
Yep.
Born to a Muslim Bosniak dad, Sefik, who came to Sweden in 1977, and a Jurka, his mom, was a Catholic Croat who also immigrated to Sweden at a time when people were fleeing Yugoslavia.
I was just going to say, so they came from a very similar region, just one was a Muslim-dominated and the other one was a Catholic-dominated, and you know what? They still came together.
Yeah, they still came together. That's right.
Made a little Zlatan Ibrahimović.
Yes, they did.
Lived with his mom until about 12 when she got busted for handling stolen goods, if you will.
Handling stolen goods.
So it was definitely a rough life for him growing up. That's what they were saying, was he was definitely like in the neighborhood of bad kids where they were like stealing, and his mom obviously gets arrested, and CPS or whatever that is in Sweden kind of comes in and like takes him and his kids away, or his siblings away.
There's a bunch of reindeer who are child protective services there.
So much reindeer.
So many reindeer.
Puts him with his dad, but his dad is not a great dad.
He's not winning any Father of the Year competitions, if you know what I mean.
Well, he said that he was like living with his dad and pretty much going hungry because the only thing in the fridge was beer.
Which is great if you're a 25-year-old stand-up comic trying to make it.
That's
but
right.
As a father with a child, I think he had a whole bunch of half-siblings.
And I think he had gotten used to not having children, and then it got kind of pushed on him when his Zlatan's mom got arrested. But this kind of molds him into this, especially in his first club, everybody thought was like a huge problem.
Well, he's hungry, and he's hungry to succeed at the expense of others.
Yes, which
he's angry at what everyone has around him and wants to succeed, to not only stick it in their face, but to succeed for himself.
It's very true, because it does drive him constantly, where he almost feels like he's constantly being attacked by other people's success.
Yeah. I mean, he really only had, he could eat or go hungry, and he shoplifted, he stole bikes, like very problematic childhood for poor Zlatan. He finds something he's good at.
I was just going to say, he kind of exceeds in soccer, where he got his first pair of cleats, I think, when he was 6, and he started playing. But when he was about 15, he was playing for Malmo FF, which is their, the team in Sweden there. He was playing for their youth club, and he was getting in fights with teammates.
Yeah, we'll see that later.
He was having a lot of problems in the locker room and around, because he was kind of different from all of these other kids who might have grown up, like more, richer,
better
whatever.
socioeconomic upbringing.
Exactly.
Is the nice
Thank
way
you.
to say it.
I was looking for that. I was searching for it. That PC term.
That PC term we all know and love, especially from Sweden, the most neutral of all countries.
But the thing that I thought was interesting was he almost quit, started working on the docks. I think his dad actually worked on the docks, so he had a job there waiting for him. So
going to be a stevedore there? Oh, wow.
Literally almost, that's such a great, but one of the greatest strikers of his era literally almost quit and became a dock worker.
Well, I mean, there are many jobs you can do on the docks. He opted for the more professional route, or he would have opted for the more professional route, but soccer was more important to this guy.
He said that there was a coach that they were like, because there's different like pockets of their youth team throughout this, and this was like the the top youth team, one of the coaches came to him and was just like, no, we're going to make you our striker, and we're going to try and focus in on you. And he is that player that needs the coach to almost like coddle him and be like, you're the best player.
Yeah.
You are like, you know what I mean?
Kiss his ass, essentially.
Yes,
you know?
100%.
Like,
and we see that later on where he has problems with a lot of
coaches, but he needs that positive he needs to hear it a lot.
Yes.
Like a coach doesn't just say once, I love you, and then that's enough. He needs it all the time, probably because of his upbringing where he probably never heard it.
Yes, that's exactly. I'll say this. He is the exact same at 17 that he is, whatever, at 38. Because
he's that Peter Pan syndrome.
Well, Ashton Wenger came in, who was coaching Arsenal at the time, and he wanted him to come and try out when he was 17 to have a tryout at Arsenal. And Zlatan's response was, I don't try out, or I don't audition.
Yeah,
what he said.
That was the best with Arsenal. I don't audition.
Yep.
It
was a huge club coming in to essentially be like, hey, we think you're going to be great. And he was just kind of like, well, I mean, if you thought I was that great, you just pick me up. So he does play for Malmo for a couple of years. He goes up and plays in the senior squad. Mm-hmm. But Sweden definitely is obviously one of the smaller
pro leagues in Europe. Yeah.
So he plays in 99. He has 16 goals over 40 games, and everybody sees this huge potential. So Ajax comes in and makes what was thought of as kind of a bigger buy, especially for the time. So 2000, he gets bought for $8.7 million.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's a lot for a teenager that is kind of unproven. You know what I mean? So he comes into Ajax, and the current coach and him don't get along.
The current coach is eventually fired.
And that, a lot of people think that was just because they were just like, dude, we just spent all of this money. Either get along with him or move on. Right. You know what I mean? So he moves on. Ronald Koeman comes in, which is probably the best thing for him at this time, because in the Dutch league, in the Eredivisie, it is very offensive oriented, but a lot of the time it's very like winger based. And he was just like, no, you're our striker. Like I was saying, like he needs this from this coach, and he comes in and he dominates for Ajax.
Yeah, they win the 2001-2002 Eredivisie title. Basically the best player of that entire league for the entire span that he's there under this new coach,
especially with his age. You know what I mean? Because that's what everybody's saying. He's like 20. He's 21. So like they win the title. And then the next season, he had a great season. He also scored like this crazy ass goal.
Oh yeah.
He does have some controversy because
he does.
It's almost like every single place he goes, he has to have that with somebody. You know what I mean? Where I almost feel like maybe it like fuels him. But this goes all the way to the summer of 2004.
Yeah.
He has an incident with his teammate when they're playing on international duty. So it was Sweden versus the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And Rafael van der Vaart feels like he went in for a tackle and tried to purposely injure him.
And see, it's a recurring trend throughout Zlatan's career of many people making these accusations.
Well, Zlatan's response was, I'll break both your legs. Just saying. That's what his response was. Not like, no. It was just a hard tackle, whatever.
I feel bad about it. No, I'll just break both your legs.
And at this point, nobody knew that Zlatan was like moving on. You know what I mean? So at like when this happened, they were still both teammates at Ajax, and he was just like, no, yeah, I'll do that, but I'll break both your legs. He ends up moving on like a month later.
Goes down to the boot, man.
He also has I actually forgot about this. He also has an incident where he punched his teammate in the locker room.
Yep.
His teammate threw some scissors at him. He punched him in the head.
He broke the rake and placed it in the forest.
I was just placing it with his friends. That's literally it. I'm just saying he has so many problems. And that's what I feel like Ajax, with this immediate sale, because they were doing so well with him, they were like, dude, somebody else needs to try and take him over.
It's not our decision. Let's not deal him within our league, but let's just make him someone else's problem.
Which is a
Kinda
very
get that vibe.
It is a very Ajax thing that they almost like have somebody come through and make money off of that sale, which they do. They almost double their investment, which moved to Juventus, the old lady.
The old lady.
For 16 mil.
60 million euros, which is more than American folding money. 405 though, man, is he awesome though?
Well, he gets lucky in that David Trezeguet has a pretty bad injury.
Yeah.
He immediately comes in as their striker and pretty much is like what everybody sees him, because obviously Italy has a stronger defense. So everybody was just like, is he going to be able to adapt in the hardest defense in the league or in the world? He has 16 goals and Juventus wins a Serie A title.
Yes, they do. The following season, basically, which is crazy, they had his agent was trying to get him more money for another squad during this point, I had read.
Well, this happens with a lot of these huge young stars, is their agent goes, this giant team wants to pay $1 billion. And that was what they were saying, was they kind of knew it was bullshit because in the time it was like a figure that wasn't going to happen.
Based in reality.
And then it did happen the next year.
Oh,
so
God.
like that was like what everybody's saying, because I think his manager was just like, oh, there's a $60 million bid from Real Madrid. And Real Madrid was like, we never did that. But when he comes back the next season, David Trezeguet is healthy again, and he kind of gets slotted to the outside. He also gets moved as like almost like a backup striker if he does come in. He has a lot more assists, but his goals go down. Juventus wins the title again.
Yes, they do. 2 in a row.
Back to back. And then we get into a bit of a scandal.
A little bit. And because Italians always operate above board all the time. So this was shocking.
This
Chris.
was a shocking revelation. Give me what the name of that scandal. Calciopoli scandal, in which Juventus gets relegated because of match fixing. We'll talk about it in the next episode, so check that out. But just in regards to Zlatan or whatever, he was this young, great striker that they were looking to hold on to. They get relegated, and then he actually has his agent threaten legal action because they were really trying to hold on to him.
I'll say, though, one thing for Zlatan and any of the guys on this team who ended up leaving, I don't fault them at all.
No,
you're getting fucking relegated. You're losing money. Like,
that's what everybody said. They also
it's not your fault either. So jump ship if you want to.
They also didn't know if Juventus was then going to come back up next season. That was still a gamble.
Because they took so many points away from the next season.
Yes, and so many players were obviously leaving. Like they lost like 30 whatever players. Like it was literally like their entire bench. But so Zlatan moves on, which, like you were saying, it was almost like a necessity. Like staying was commendable for the couple that did, but everybody else, especially him, he didn't have any. Like he was there for like 2 years.
You get 2 scudettos.
You get 2 scudettos. Just to put a point on this, they actually take those away from Juventus. Yep. So he technically has 0 titles.
This is bullshit.
Yep. So he moves to Inter Milan.
Is their coach an uncircumcised penis too?
Oh, he is a champion. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, son of a bitch. So he moves to Inter Milan, which I thought was surprising.
Very surprising.
That a lot of the Juventus sales were within
Serie A, right?
They just kind of were looking for anybody who was buying, if that makes sense, which for 24.8 mil, it kind of was a good deal.
Oh, I mean, economically, this is fantastic for Inter Milan and Zlatan as far as staying in the same league, but holy cow.
Well, and then we see Inter Milan have a really good season. A lot of people are we'll talk about the other literal top teams all got penalized and deducted points and whatever.
Some people got some leniency.
Just saying. He in this season is leading goal scorer again with 15 goals. They win their first title. Technically his first title.
Yeah.
Because Technically, this is his first title.
People can't erase the memories.
So true. Second season, even better. And Inter Milan really is the top team in this Serie A span of 5 years.
Yeah.
Because Juventus is obviously, building back up. AC Milan, too, we're trying to build back up. So Inter really is dominating. He has 17 goals in 27 games. He also is the striker.
And he's the Serie A Footballer of the Year. I mean, he's the best player.
Yes.
4-1 too.
Yep. So he wins which is the two that I feel like Italians hate when they kind of give out, but it is
exactly.
Because they like it when
when
it's like a Footballer of the Year, and then we have this other award for you guys.
Yeah, right. No one accused them of being. No, I'm just gonna.
Yep.
Maradona did.
So true.
So true. So true.
Third season, his best for Inter.
Yes.
25 goals. He had a game against Juventus where they end up winning, and it kind of propels them into the title, which everybody was saying, like, can you imagine that Juventus team with him? Because he literally goes from them to be the leading goal scorer the next, 3 years.
Well, what's hilarious is during this time period, Italy had just won a World Cup, with a lot of those players.
Yep. We'll get into that in that next episode. It's one of the best. Juventus had so many players in the World Cup, but that was the thing that they were so stacked. So
And they didn't even all play for Italy either.
No.
Yeah.
Played for France.
Yes, they did.
So his stock is
All-time high.
all-time high. Inter Milan are in a bit of financial trouble. So with the scandal that just happened, it's starting to overflow into Inter Milan because they've had some stuff happen with a telecommunication company that the president owns. So now they're looking to sell their best players. They end up getting a huge bid. And people say this, not that Zlatan wasn't worth this, but what happens with him at Barcelona,
Oh, man.
it is a horrible deal.
It's terrible.
Because
59 million pounds. That's silver sterling. That's more than American folding money.
That American folding money. So he goes for 69.5 plus Samuel Eto'o. So Samuel Eto'o was one of the best strikers, and he fit into the Barcelona system really well. So that's what they were saying, was just like, it was such a bad deal because he goes to Barcelona, has a good first 2 or 3 months.
And you know what? This is just a San Diego Padres trade.
Oh,
the
my
way
God.
the fallout of it is.
Well, it is one of those that him and the coach just never saw eye to eye.
Yeah.
He ended up hating Pep Guardiola, who has the credentials, but if you're out of favor with Pep Guardiola, he will ignore you.
Oh, you go to the doghouse, you don't come back, from what I read with that guy.
Well, what happened? He got injured.
Yep.
They kind of switched the system. Messi started to kind of like playing in the middle, and it really started to work. Just the 4-5-1 with the withdrawn striker instead of the 4-3-3 with him being like the focal point. And then he came back and got a red card and was out for 3 games. And I remember somebody saying, like, Pep was so mad at his reaction towards the red card because he was just like, yeah, that happens. I don't give a shit. And he kind of ignored him from there.
Oh.
And the tension just built and built and built until they got to the semifinals of the Champions League
Against Inter Milan.
against his old team, Inter Milan. And he felt like they didn't press enough. So Inter Milan ends up winning.
Yeah.
And he felt like as a team, they should have been throwing more offensive players on. They didn't. They end up losing. It blew up in the locker room where
it did.
he said some things. You want to go over what he said?
You haven't got any balls. You can go to hell. That's like Mr. Garrison. You can go to hell. You can go to hell and you die.
It really was. But what people that talked about their relationship at this point was he wasn't even talking to Zlatan. So Zlatan was like yelling across the locker room at him like, like, you fucking piece of shit.
You bought a Ferrari, but you drive it like a Fiat. That
Yes.
was the one, man.
Yes.
Just like, God damn.
And that he felt like he was being too conservative. He felt all of that where Pep was like, you need to just shut up.
Yeah, like, you can't do that to a manager like him, basically, from what I read, because he'll just ignore you. Like, he won't say anything back to, like, feed it in, so then you keep looking like the asshole sputtering out sentence fragments and lighting things on fire.
He literally just will make you look like the asshole because he'll just cut you off.
Yeah.
Also, and this is why the trade was so bad, because Samuel Eto'o was so good with Barcelona, and then he was really good in Inter Milan. Zlatan became a huge problem, and now all of these questions are being raised. can he function in a bigger team? You know what I mean? All of
Exactly.
this, is he actually going to be a great striker? Or is this him literally just showing us like, oh, he's just going to be a problem at every team he goes to?
You got to grab that parka. There's some douche chills blowing through on this storm front.
God damn, there is. The thing that I thought was kind of crazy is in his book, he actually blamed Messi.
Really?
Over Pep. He said that Messi wanted to play in the middle and almost demanded it. And I remember thinking, like, that doesn't sound like something that Pep would be like, yeah. It's almost like, and this is what I say, it's almost like the injury and the red card showed them that formation was like almost better.
Yeah.
And then they kind of went,
They saw what happened before they made a choice. Went to it full force.
So in the summer, he gets loaned to AC Milan
Uh-huh.
with the option to buy next year for $24 million, which if you look at what he was just sold for the last year.
Oh, I know.
69.5 plus Eto'o. Now they're saying you can have him for free for a year, except for they pay his wage, but then you can buy him if you like him the next year for $25 million. And it was like AC Milan like jumped at that so much.
Why wouldn't you? That's just a good deal.
Yeah.
That's just a good deal. He's banned for 3 matches, though, for punching a Bari defender in the 1-1 draw, though.
And this is his thing that people say is you can like set him off.
Yep.
And he almost can't control his emotion.
He takes the cheese. He's like John Rocker, only not as racist. Well, we might get into that
It's a
later.
different kind of racism.
It's a different kind.
You know, it's a European. It's more refined.
It's more age of enlightenment.
It's true. It's more of like a fine cheese.
God. 2011, 2012. They win 2011 Supercoppa Italiana against Inter Milan. Scores a goal in that game. And he was a top goal scorer in Serie A that season. Again.
And I was talking about this with you before, was he was so dominant in Italy that he almost had to go back and prove himself constantly and be like, this is how good I am.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird, though, because he's just moving from great team to great, or like I should say like flagship team to flagship team. He's not playing on like these fly-by-night operations. These are like European soccer's best storied teams.
And at the end, if you like go through the people that he's played with, because he just goes through all these teams, it's a crazy list of, I mean, yeah.
So after that season, summer 2012, he signs and he decides he doesn't want to play in Italy anymore.
He plays one more season.
Yeah.
So he plays 2 seasons. His second season, he scores 28 out of 32, and they win the Serie A title. This is the first time that in years, and they stop Inter Milan with their 4th or 5th consecutive, however you want to look at it. And his stock is super high again.
Yeah.
Except for the only thing is because they sign him again. Whatever. So he plays 1 year on loan and 1 year they sign him, but he only has 1 year left on his contract. Mm-hmm. And in this summer, a giant, I forget who it is, United Arab Emirates, I think actually, buys Paris Saint-Germain, which is the PSG, which is the team out of Paris. Now they have like unlimited money, and they offer AC Milan $20 million, which a lot of people think might be cheap, but it's just to buy out his last year of his contract.
Oh, wow.
And then they offer him I think it was like $5 million more per year on salary.
Jesus.
So like he just becomes, I think he was the second highest paid player when he went to PSG.
Oh, dang.
But the thing about France is, especially at this time, they were because there's like 5 major leagues in Europe, and they were like the worst league.
They're like the Big 12.
Yes, it really, because the top 4 are Germany, Italy, Spain, England, and France gets thrown in there because they have really good clubs, but like top to bottom, they're pretty garbage. And he has a lot of complaints.
Yes, he does.
A lot of complaints about referees.
Trust me, we all have a lot of complaints about France. Homer, what's your least favorite country? Italy or France? France. Nobody ever says Italy.
It's so good. But he becomes the star of the league. That's the thing
he's lighting it up.
30 goals first season. They win their first championship in 19 years because there were other clubs like Lyon that was like dominating for years, and shit like that. You guys all remember.
He's the first one to score 30 plus in basically like 15 years in that league. That's amazing.
Yep. So they were saying that they hadn't had a goal scorer like him in forever. You know what I mean? And that was the pedigree that he kind of made for PSG. Was they were trying to like win the Champions League. They never ended up doing it. But the next season they ended up winning quadruple.
Oh yeah.
So the domestic quadruple. So they win their Super Cup and then they win their domestic title, and then so like that's how dominant they are in the league.
And he's their best player.
And he is straight up the face of PSG. Yes.
Ligue 1, is that how you say it? Ligue 1?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll take it. 2015, 2016, he's top scorer for PSG again. He has 32, and he becomes their all-time scorer. He ends up getting eclipsed by Cannavaro, the Uruguayan.
Oh, yeah.
But he literally, and this is what they were saying, was he kind of transforms this team and makes it to where they are like a destination for top players. That's why like Neymar ends up going there and shit like that.
Well, and he started doing this at 35. It's not like he's a child.
No,
you know?
He's
like,
old at this point.
He's like a seasoned, crafty veteran on this pitch here.
But he always is top scorer. You know what I mean? Like he's just constantly top scorer. They end up not making it far in the Champions League, and he made a statement that said he wanted to, because he's going to become a free agent.
Yeah.
And he said he's going to go and try and win the Champions League at a team he thinks is going to do it. So he ends up moving to Manchester United.
Yep, 2016.
His first goal was actually the 25,000 goal in the Prem history, which I thought was just his first goal. And then he is the oldest to actually have 15 goals in a season. He did it at 35 plus. And he has this really great season with Manchester United. So he's old, like we were just saying, 36, I think, at this point. But he has this great season because everybody was kind of doubting whether or not he was going to be able to perform. He's still killing it. Right at the end of his first season, he has his first like real huge major injury.
Right knee ligament injury.
Yes. And this is one that he doesn't necessarily come back from. He still has some great time, but he's not a 30-game guy anymore.
30 goals, per season. Yeah. Which is unfortunate because, man, and he, like I said, he's playing for all of the most important teams in Europe, just like a Merc on all these teams.
Yes.
It's crazy.
So he actually takes a year off.
Yeah.
Comes back and signs, but just isn't at that same level. So he plays for, I think he ends up playing for like 3 or 4 months when he comes back for Manchester United. And then he ends up signing for LA Galaxy.
He comes to America.
Yep. He gets his 500th goal on LA Galaxy versus Toronto.
He has a full-page ad when he gets out there in the LA Times that says, "Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome."
Yep. That's just the kind of guy he is. I'm just saying.
Oh, God. After
he got his 500th goal versus Toronto, he said, "Toronto can be happy. They're my 500th victim." Like, that's just how he is. When he first showed up in L.A., LeBron James sent him a jersey because LeBron just signed for the Lakers. He got the jersey. Zlatan got the jersey, signed it, and sent it back. It's my favorite story from him.
Oh, my God. I love it. I love it. Oh, Zlatan never changed.
First year, he does okay. Second year, he ends up captaining the LA Galaxy, and they go to the playoffs. But they're just not a great team. I think they ended up losing to the other LA team. In his departing words from LA Galaxy, he put, "You wanted Zlatan. I gave you Zlatan. You are welcome. Now go back to watching baseball." It's my it's
We will, Zlatan.
It's so good. He goes back to AC Milan for one last. So he has like because of the way MLS seasons are, he shows up for like the second half of the season.
Yeah.
He proves that he's doing really well. He comes back the next season, and this is where the racist incident happens with Lukaku.
Yeah, we want to get into that.
So AC Milan's playing Inter Milan. Their striker is Lukaku, who's black.
He is.
And he says...
a former teammate of his in Manchester.
Yep, they were teammates in Manchester. And then he says, go do your voodoo. And then he called him like a little donkey. And people were like, that's really racist. And he goes, no, it's not racist. I'm just being an asshole. And people were like, yeah, you're being an asshole racist. It's pretty ridiculous.
Oh, God.
Because it's Italy, he was found to not be doing any racism.
I mean, because it's Italy. I mean,
just saying.
The gap is pretty wide.
He gets injured towards the end of that season. And then in 2022, AC Milan actually win their title, his 5th, should have been 7th, in Serie A. And it was actually the first time that AC Milan won since he won it with them in 2011.
Oh,
and I thought that was awesome.
What he also said during this time, he was the first guy to score in 4 different decades, I think.
Yep. And I think he has something like 10 Super Cups. So when the team that finishes first and then the team that wins like the cup, they end up playing each other as like the first game of the season. He always won those. Like he literally has like 10 or 11 of them. He ends up getting injured again and just retires because this is like the end of it. If you ever want to watch one of the best retirement things that a player does, his retirement at AC Milan was really well done. I can't think of another striker that was more consistent over more leagues. So a lot of the times, like somebody's style will like feed into one league. He was successful over every single league.
Doesn't take a style to put the ball in net, man.
Yeah.
No.
No, that's it. That's Zlatan.
That's Zlatan, everybody.
Thank you.